Welcome back to another round, Basis Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, and anyone in between. It's appreciated. Now, there's two cards on this weekend. There's only one that most people have been speaking about, but I have seen a bit more, mentioned about the following one, which is the top rank card, which takes place for us. It's going to be about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. For the States, it'll probably be like what, 9 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock or so on the West Coast. But we know why we're here. Now, there's a few fights on the undercard of Usyk versus Dubois that I do have interest in, but I don't know enough necessarily about the Hamza Shiraz opponent to give any particular info on that fight. But I've been told that could be a real big banana skin, as it's a guy that is he's managed by Igor Klimas and is supposed to be a pretty good amateur as well, so that could be interesting. So what I'm going to do, just going to speak about the main event, and then I've actually got about 2 or 3 fights for the top rank card that I want to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into that Queensberry and K2 Promotions, Knockout Promotions and Skills Challenge Promotions card taking place in Poland. So before I get into it fully, I just want to say I think that Denis Berinchyk will get a stoppage victory over Anthony Yigit. I'm not even really going to go into the breakdowns as to why, but Yigit, I believe at the moment is 27-3, but all of his losses have been via knockout, and even though Berinchyk is only 17-0 with 9 KOs, he's very busy with the hands, and I just feel as if that could be another one of those issues with Igit. And I think he's coming, he used to compete at a slightly lower weight, so he's sort of coming up into the division. If it goes points, I would be surprised, but yeah, I just want to throw that out there before we get to the main event. However, reason why we're all here is Alexander Usyk in his homecoming of sorts against Daniel Dubois. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, well, look, Daniel's got a puncher's chance and, he's got to do this, he's got to do that to win. Okay, if I look at this and say to myself, what are his keys to success? Well, the keys to success is pretty much to rush in on Usyk, like to not give him time to breathe, to not give him time to use his feet, basically just to sort of try to throw a double triple jab, step in behind it, grab Usyk, hold him, like sort of rough him up, punch him on the inside when he's got him held, and basically just be physical for the first couple rounds, and then try to extend the jab and to try and work the body, sort of a little bit later on into the fight, sort of rounds 4-5, and basically sort of just take it to Usyk that way. He can't afford to stand off, he can't afford to fence with Usyk, and he can't afford to try and basically set traps, because Usyk is too quick, too clever, too skilled to fall for the traps that he would be looking to set. And Dubois is not necessarily a thinker like that, like, oh, okay, well, if I throw the left throwaway here, he's going to feint to that, he's going to try to parry that, and then I can use that to turn it into a hook. He doesn't really operate in that mode. He's very much, all of his patterns, all of his work rate is all just sort of drilled into him, and it just sort of comes out just naturally as a state. There's no real, once he's kind of in his rhythm, that's how he's going to be. There's not going to be much change to it. Now, Usyk on the other hand, I mean, he has a lot more keys to success. Number one, be busy. Fluster Daniel. Don't give him a chance to think. Actually, I'm going to take that back. It might be more beneficial to make Daniel think in there. When being busy, making him think about, okay, I've got to block this, or, oh, let me try and take the shot here. Like, keep his mind having to work. because he's at his most dangerous when he's literally in almost in a state of autopilot, and it's just going hell for leather. So maybe make him have to think, make him have to wonder where the shots are coming from, confuse him in that sense. Also, Daniel Dubois, from one of the interviews that he had the other day, he basically had said that he's had a knee issue for a little while. It was supposed to get taken care of a little while ago, and he hadn't had it done, and that's the reason why in the Kevin Lerena fight his knee ultimately went. So if he's got knee or ACL issues already, and he's not even that top heavy, but it's got to be because of either the way how he stands or the way how he, you know, how he positions himself. It's a lot of, I guess it's a lot of front foot tension and sort of upper thigh sort of tension when he's actually standing to plant his feet. So all of that tells me that his you know, maybe his balance or his natural structure and posture, there's a fundamental issue there. Now that's something that Usyk can take advantage of. If he keeps Daniel turning towards his left hand side, he's going to have him turning onto that leg that was supposedly damaged back in December. And if you keep making him having to do sharp turns on that same side, that could end up ultimately breaking down those muscles, or just causing him to step awkwardly. That could cause an injury, and that could just be another way to kind of get the fight going. Ultimately, again, you want to be in and out. You don't want to stay in the pocket. You don't want to try and, I guess, trade up strength for strength with him. Usyk will have man strength over Dubois, but Dubois has country boy strength. You look at Daniel, his whole body, his whole physique is just, there's no inflated with strength training to him. He's just naturally a big solid guy. Like I said, when people say he's country strong, that's literally Daniel Dubois. So you don't want to be in there necessarily just trying to test strength for strength. So you want to be in and out, but you want to be keeping his hands engaged at all times and keeping his brain engaged on what's going on to hopefully tire and wear him out. Now look, that's me giving very sort of basic and brief, but I would assume succinct ideas and keys to victory for both people. Ultimately, how do I see this fight playing out? I see this fight playing out the first round and the second round. I think Daniel's going to try and step in. He's going to try and close distance on Usyk. He's going to try and throw shots as and when he gets an opportunity, not even really thinking where it's going to land. But in those times, Usyk is going to be moving. He's going to be moving. He's going to make Daniel miss a few. Daniel's going to catch him a few times on the arms. He might even catch him with a decent body shot here or there, but he's going to be made to miss quite a bit. It's not necessarily going to tire him out, because Daniel has pretty good cardio. He's never really been tired in a fight thus far, but I think the constant moving is going to make him have to keep resetting. He's going to want to keep planting his feet. He's not going to be able to. In this whole time, I think Usyk is going to be stabbing to the body, trying to take a bit of the air out of Daniel's cells, and then he's going to just start, I feel like he's going to start sharpshooting to the head, and he's almost going to have a target to either one of Daniel's eyes or his cheek, but he's going to just keep hitting the same spot over and over and over again, very similar to the Joe Joyce fight, but instead of that being on the right eye, I feel like he's going to be aiming for the left, because that's closer to his lead hand, and also he's going to be raiding in and out on Daniel Dubois. Rounds 3, rounds 4, round 5, I feel like he's gonna up the tempo from quicker than he normally does, and I even feel like he's gonna try and hold his feet a little bit more than he usually does and throw just a little bit of additional mustard on each shot. At this point, it's not going to be enough to really, like, you know, down Dubois. He's not going to end up going over from any of these, I don't think, at this particular point, but the accumulation is going to be there. The face is going to start to bust up a little bit, and Daniel, I feel like he's going to just look a bit lost. Round 6, I feel like at that point Daniel's going to go for it, like just almost like a Hail Mary play, And I think at that point he's going to end up getting countered with something, probably get hit around the temple, equilibrium. He's going to stumble, and I feel like he's going to go over, very similar to what happened with Kevin Lorena. I feel like he may make it out of that one, but in round 7 I can see him getting knocked over again, and rather than him getting counted out or stopped by the referee, I can see the towel coming in as a way to sort of save face and save Daniel's graces, and make it like he didn't, you know, he didn't quit, he didn't back down, like his corner stopped it for your safety, and you can kind of carry on and rebuild and rework from that way. So the official prediction, I do believe within rounds 5 to 8 Usyk will win this fight via stoppage. I do think it would be a corner stoppage, but I think it's going to happen around about the 7th round. But anywhere between rounds 5 and 8, to me, Usyk gets it done. He wants to make a statement in front of the Ukrainian public. He hasn't been in front of them in a while, and I feel like he's going to want to owe it to them to have an emphatic victory. And the fact that Daniel has sort of no real support over there, I do feel like Usyk will be a bit spiteful, especially as the way Daniel's been talking about, you know, I'm going to rip those belts away, like I'm just hungry for this, I want this. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to show the little boy how it is in the pros with the real men. And I just feel that is how Alexander Usyk is going to play this one, and he's going to be a bit more vicious than he has been in a while. It could possibly be Marco Huck levels of viciousness. So that's the prediction. Let's see if it sticks, but I'm definitely going for the stoppage. I believe 5 to 8, but it could happen later than that, but I don't see it going the distance. I just don't think he's gonna let Daniel off the hook, and I feel like Daniel is going to need to be saved from himself. You're not going to let him just stay in there and take a beating for 12 rounds, because that's not the kind of character that he has or that you want for him. But yeah, leave your comments down below and let me know what you think regarding that. Now on the Top Rank card, there's about 4 different heavyweight fights that I'm interested in having a look at. I know Jeremiah Milton is facing Craig Lewis. Craig Lewis is a former opponent of, I think, F.A. Jagbar. I think he's also been in there with Bakadir Jalilov or Stephen Shaw. But he's one of sort of those serviceable journeymen that Top Rank always employ. That one's going to be interesting, but I've got Milton winning that one via sort of mid to late round stoppage. Bakadir Jalilov, I see him taking his opponent out within the first 2 rounds. I can't see much other than that. My big interesting fight on this particular card is actually F.A. Jagbar versus Jan Kosobutsky. Now, essentially, Kosobutsky, Southpaw, was supposed to face Jared Anderson back in June. They had visa issues supposedly, and then it ended up being Charles Martin. Well, Charles Martin may have been a worse test for him at the time, because Charles Martin was a bigger guy, taller guy with a longer range. So a lot of the things that Jared Anderson was getting away with in terms of how he would back out of his chin in the air, straight lines, he was getting away with it against the shorter guys like Jan Kosobutsky. He's about 6'3", whereas Charles Martin was like 6'5". Well, Kosobutsky is a better mover than Charles Martin. Again, he's another southpaw. He's a bit more worldly southpaw as well. A very decorated amateur. 19-0 with 18 KOs as a pro thus far. So you know that he can hit. And F.A. Jagbar essentially is very sort of stiff, very robotic. He's got a good jab. His jab is improved. He does have a very good straight right, but he needs time to set it, and I don't think that Kosobutsky will give him that time. Now, Kosobutsky is getting on. He hasn't been super active over the last year or so, the last 2 years, to be honest. He did have a co-promotion deal with Queensbury, and for some reason that didn't materialize to any fights. I don't know why, but he's yeah, he hasn't been super duper active, but he's been active enough that I still feel he is a level or 2 above F.A. Jagbar. So without going into a huge technical breakdown, I do believe Ajagba loses this fight. He's going to lose it on activity, he's going to lose it on rounds, and ultimately I believe he's going to get knocked out. He's going to get dropped at least once, probably twice, and I think it's a 10 rounder rather than a 12, but I think by round 7 or 8, if it goes that long, Kosobutski gets him out of there. If not, then definitely by the 9th round. It doesn't see past the 9th. Kosobutski, like I said, just too cultured. His shot variety to me is too good. He's too knowledgeable against regular orthodox fighters, let alone sort of very basic crude ones like Efe Ajagba. Ajagba's got the height, but Kosobutski is used to facing taller guys, and I just feel that he's got this one in the bag, and he's gonna basically campaign almost to have that FA, to have the Jared Anderson fight that was called off, to almost have that as his next one moving forward. And they're going to keep putting Anderson in there with southpaws because Usyk is southpaw and Fury can box southpaw. So until those belts go to another orthodox fighter, I feel like they're just going to keep trying to prepare him for those southpaw fighters and styles. So that's that one. Jared Anderson against Andre Rudenko. Rudenko is cannon fodder for Jared Anderson at this point. Now he will be sort of a bit tricky and fiddly in the first sort of 2 to 3 rounds. I feel like he's going to try and keep range. He is a bit taller than Jared Anderson, so I feel like he will try and stick behind his jab ever so slightly. He's got good fundamentals, you know, Eastern block, very good fundamentals, but he's not necessarily the most dynamic or put together. So once you're able to kind of read him from sort of the first, second round, like that's when I feel that Jared Anderson's going to start getting to him. I do see Anderson taking him out by the 5th, but I'm expecting a 4th round KO on that one. Between 3 and 4, I feel like he'll try and work him out a little bit on the first 2, but by the time he gets to the 3rd, I feel like he would have had the measure of him. And yeah, round 3 to 4 is when he really lets his hands go, and I feel that Andre Rudenko won't survive the onslaught. He may not necessarily even get dropped, but I feel like he'll take a sustained beating at some point, and the ref will jump in and wave it off. So that's the prediction for that one. I've got Jared Anderson around about rounds 3 to 4. So just to recap, I've got Alexander Usyk in the 7th round, but between rounds 5 to 8 primarily. I have Zan Kosobutski by the 9th round, but I'm predicting round 8 again also. And then Jared Anderson, I'm also predicting rounds 3 to 4 KO. Leave your comments down below, and if there's any others, put your comments about those ones, and let me know if there's any others that you want quick predictions on, and I'll sort of give you as much of an overview as I can. So there are some other fights, but I just don't know enough about the necessary people to give real comprehensive breakdowns, so it would be a bit unfair to do so. That being said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to share with a colleague or whoever else. And that's Basis Picks, locked.